Cutoffs and Coffee, episode 17. Here we are, James and CT, back here with our cutoffs, back with our coffee. Got an electric interview for you today. We actually had to split this one up into two parts. This conversation with Brian Peters, former NFL linebacker, a guy who came out of college, and he'll tell you the whole story here in part one. Came out of college as one of the top-rated safeties, one of the top-rated defensive backs in the Big Ten. Actually didn't get drafted, didn't get picked up in free agency. And in part one here, he explains to you his journey, his long journey, all the ups and downs, all the good and the bad. He gives us a ton of detail. We finish the end of part one with him answering a question that I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be asking themselves at the end of his story. So hear the end of that, hear the end of part one, and then next week we will give you an awesome part two. James?
All right. And as always, our sponsor today, Underdog Fitness, the only foam roller you need to take with you on the go. It has everything you need in it. It has a band. It has a peanut lacrosse ball, hip circle, get you warmed up, foam roller to get you cooled down. All right. I roll on this thing all the time, and it makes a huge difference in my mobility. I just feel better. It's a nice little nightly routine that I have. Also, Underdog tank tops, the only tank you need to lunge in, and it couldn't be a better episode to be sponsored than this. This is a true underdog story. I can't wait to share this episode with everybody.
So here we go. Enjoy part one with Brian Peters.
Here we go. Cutoffs and Coffee. Brian Peters, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming.
Easy. Appreciate you boys having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So let's just start here. You Google Brian Peters, a lot of dope pictures come up. You freezing in ice buckets and you playing professional football. What's one thing you want the listeners to know that we can't find from just a simple Google search of you?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I like that a lot. What people don't know about me. I just say, like, you see some of the structure, but I guess you don't see some of the anti-structure. Like I try and like the new concepts I've created for myself that have given me a bunch of freedom are basically making room for life. And that goes with making space to have plenty of nights of sleep and some nights of limited sleep. It goes with like the concept, like, do you own the routine? Or does the routine own you? And for a lot of my life, especially football, the routine owned me, caused me stress. I didn't balance out the go of football and grinding and my identity of being a hard worker and these things. So now, like, the thing people don't see is, like, you may see football or like lifting or structure or diet or breathing and all these things that are like human performance, but there's a bunch of life in there too. There's time with friends, family, there's craziness. Like it's like, again, there's anti-structure where there's like today, like these next 3 hours, like I don't have any limits on myself. There's just like, dude, there's Netflix binges, there's all that shit where like the Instagrams and those kind of things don't show like the shit days. And for me, that's probably the biggest thing people don't see is like the anti-productivity or the negative sides of human performance. My vice.
Yeah, the guy is human. Let's take that into your story, man. You got a story that I think everybody needs to hear. We crossed paths at one point. And you were one of those guys that I saw jumping in the Arena Football League. And I was just telling James before we got on, I knew you had no business being there. We had a lot of elite athletes at that level, but you were just one of those guys who needed to have just a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, which you ended up doing. So tell us, man, tell us about your story. How'd you get to the point that you're at now?
I mean, do you guys want the long version or the spark notes? Because it's a saga.
Bro, there's a lot of really good detail in there that I think, our kids who are in high school and who think they're working hard and think they're doing everything they need to do right now, I think they need to hear. So give us the good version, man. And then we'll try to not interrupt you much.
No, cool. Easy. Probably the cleanest view if we're going to start in high school. It was pretty organic. I didn't start playing football till 7th grade. Was third string receiver, safety in 7th grade, backup quarterback, fourth receiver, kind of safety in 8th grade. Then I became a quarterback, did that whole song and dance. So I didn't even find defense like as my passion until sophomore year when I started at corner. And so anyways, like that rolled into a great culture in high school. I was blessed with a coaching staff that's still there to this day. They coach the right way. They emphasize like the tribe for the seniors. So they have a lot of emphasis on responsibility for that, but they really taught, like they taught the game X's and O's. Like we're in there watching film with my coach before and after school. The physicality of the game was a non-negotiable for my defensive coordinator. He molded me as a football player for sure, because the only thing I knew in the culture was to hit, and like that eventually like took me places, and I regressed from it and saw my play regress, and then it showed up again once I got an opportunity in the NFL and all these kind of things. So like that was a massive lesson for me, was the imposing your will and being a physical player. So anyways, rolled into some offers going through high school. I started with like some MAC offers, some like Air Force and Navies, and then got into a couple Big Ten schools. It was Northwestern primarily, and then Michigan State came in really late after I'd already committed, that kind of thing. But anyways, so had this great foundation for football. Again, just an incredible coaching staff that like I can speak on their leadership and their mentorship in other areas of life, not just on the football field. So anyways, I get a scholarship to Northwestern. And this is kind of where like I started learning about supplements and edges and that kind of thing, where I was a really good pitcher in high school as well, but I forego like playing baseball to run track and train. And I have this really cool doctor in Pickerington who I didn't understand his influence, his genius, all this stuff at the time. Like at the time he was working with like the Mariners, Derek Jeter crazies, and he's hiding in Pickerington, Ohio. So, but like all I knew is that like if you get hurt in Pickerington, you go see this guy. Like I sprained an ankle and like in the playoffs, couldn't walk, played the next game, did the same thing with a torn groin the following year in the playoffs. And me and him were cool. So like so he's the only person I knew in the industry really, besides like the guys at World's Gym. So he said, hey, go train with this guy 40 minutes away. So I started going with him, and he just it was just me and him one-on-one in the basement, destroying me. Like, and I had like, I'm the kid, like obviously in high school, they don't teach a lot of not only just technique, but training methodology, like time under tension, hypertrophy. And this is where I learned this and saw the benefits very fast the first time, and also learned how to work hard and fail. And so in his little bit like studio basement, like one rack, one set of adjustable dumbbells were still some of the hardest workouts to this day, where I'd leave there and like I'm trying to drive home and my forearms are shaking. Like I have to like drive with like my knee pinned, like it was crazy, my legs shaking, stuff that my nervous system hadn't been exposed to. But I went from this like 185. So I gained 20 pounds in 6 months before I went to college. And I get to college, and we're playing 7-on-7 in the summertime. And like how we played 7-on-7 in Pickerington, we banged, like we were headbutting, so like day one, I lay this like the number 2 receiver out over the middle, fight ensues. I do the same thing again. And like people, like everybody's just like, who's this Tommy tough guy, that kind of thing. But like, and then I was also like, I was pretty yoked at the time going into college too, because that kind of bled up into like the 210, 213 by the end of the summer. And all these safeties who like, obviously I was physical and I had a good summer. They're like, oh, he's going to be a linebacker. He's going to be a linebacker, that kind of thing. And just kind of like knocking me. And then I get there and I get into their strength program, and it's pretty vanilla, and I lose what I had. And then I was like right on the borderline of being redshirted, got redshirted and kind of lost my drive because I'm not playing, like that kind of thing. I miss home. I'm doing the whole freshman thing, boozing, like that, all that kind of stuff that's not serving my goal. And I'm spending time in places that like aren't loving me back. Like I'm going down the wrong way, and I'm getting weaker in the same essence. So that went on for like another year. I still could play ball. I ended up starting a few games my redshirt freshman year, but that eventually built. And my head coach, Pat Fitzgerald, who's an absolute savage stud and incredible human, kind of tutored me away and mentored me away from the adolescence, and helped me grow up pretty fast. Once I started to get on the field, took a really cool interest in me. I was able to shed some of the habits, the bad habits. And then after another year or two, I started to get I added my strength stuff on top, my doctor strength stuff on top of that, and built into a captain. And my senior year, I again, all this was pretty organic. I really wasn't a kid that grew up like, I want to go to the NFL or anything like that. Like I kept kind of my head down and kept momentum. And it was just like little demon in front of me, like slay that beast, get to the next one, slay that beast. And it grew into this opportunity by my senior year. Like agents are asking me if I have an agent, and like, whatever, I'm going through that whole process. So I thought I had a chance, and that's all I was asking for at that time. But like by my senior year, I was like, okay, maybe I can. And then I have a decent senior season. I was a captain, led the Big Ten in interceptions, 100 tackles, like had a good season.
You're super decent. Yeah. Appreciate the modesty there.
No, but so like, yeah, in my essence, like, never mind. But anyways, thought I had a chance. Like guys were saying late rounds, definitely free agent draft, like free agent, undrafted free agent signing, that kind of thing. Didn't get a fucking call on draft day. The only person that called me on draft day was my mom and Pat Fitzgerald to call me and ask me what's going on. And then my trash agent at the time. And so anyways, so like, I'm like, I don't know, coach. I don't know what's going on. I was supposed to get calls, didn't get any calls. Even as the draft ended, no calls. And so he made calls. My agent was trying to get me in places, whatever. So we had a guy from Northwestern down in the front office for the Buccaneers. And then the Bears were local. So I got into their like rookie mini camps on a workout basis to work out against the guys that all just signed contracts, draft picks, and undrafted free agents. And so this is where like kind of that lesson from my high school coach shows up. So I get down to Tampa Bay, and it's Shiano's first year down there with the Bucks. And we're running, so it's 3-day mini camp. We're running 2 days with strength and conditioning in between. So heavy practice, lift weights, run 10 hundreds, and then go practice again. Second practice, 3 of our Sam linebackers pop hamstrings, and I'm the biggest safety, so they put me down at Sam linebacker. And like I adjust, and like some people had said, oh, he needs to be a linebacker anyway. He's too slow, he's too white, whatever. So anyways, that progresses, and like I end up having a decent camp. But there's this opportunity at one point where I met this running back in the hole. I kind of like slipped into like the B gap and fit this running back up, but I just like tagged off. We're only in helmets, we don't have shoulder pads on, whatever. And I have this savage position coach there for the weekend, and Brian Cox, who played for a decade plus, just absolute savage. And he's like, hey, Peters, would you have hit this guy here? He goes, yeah, coach, I would have killed him. He goes, well, we'll never know. He goes, I don't know if you're physical. Like you're a safety. Like I haven't seen you be physical. Like, how am I supposed to know that you would have hit him there? He goes, you fucking hit him. And he goes, you never pass up an opportunity to be physical in the NFL, because somebody will take your soul if you pass on an opportunity. I go, noted. So at that point, I had a good camp, and then like I'm sitting down with Brian Cox on my way out the door. He goes, hey, looks like we're going to bring you back. Like you need to gain 20 pounds, like that kind of thing. So I'm getting all hyped up. Don't get a call. Go to the Bears camp the next week. Play really well. They had a 3rd round draft pick. He ended up like cracking his neck at some point, so I played longer than him. I get hyped off that. Those are my own little motivational things. But I had a good camp and like got good reviews, but didn't get an opportunity. But the thing that those 2 mini camps show me is that I knew I can play. Like, and that's what kept me going, like through all the other steps and all the other bullshit. Because a lot of bullshit happened after that, where this is about time we start meeting. But anyway, so I don't have like nothing's on the table with football. My agent doesn't want to send me to Canada because I signed a 2-year deal, and that means he doesn't get a cut of my money. So anyway, so I'm like, what do I do? Do I stay in Chicago? Do I go home? Do I do all this stuff? And then like, but I need money. I don't have any freaking money. So anyways, I'm looking for work. And then my agent's like, hey, go out to the Arena Football League, the Iowa Barnstormers, where me and CT met. But he sells it to me like I'm already on the team when I get out there. And I show up, and it's like a 13-man tryout for 2 spots for like the last 4 weeks of the deal. And I'm like, well, fuck, let's go. but I'm pissed because like I'm already mad at my agent at this point anyways, because nothing happened how he said it would. And I'm sure it's his fault, not mine, but I'm sure. But anyways, but so get out there, end up making the team, me and the cat from Iowa State. Starts with a B, something like that. I can't remember his name now. Damn. Anyways.
Darius.
Yeah. So
Darius
like,
Reynolds.
Yeah. So had a blast out there. But probably some of the most fun football I played in my entire life, like smashing dudes in the walls. Like I was playing that jack linebacker spot. Like my job was like clear run and then hit everything that moving laterally. It was freaking phenomenal. And then like special teams was just a massacre. It was like Braveheart. People run into each other. So much fun. Like fans spilling beer, talking shit. So much fun. But so met CT there. Me and him were pumping it up at the gym in our cutoffs back then. Nothing's changed after 11 years. 10 years.
Yeah. 2012. Yeah.
12. Yeah. So going on a decade of cutoffs and heavy pumps and workouts. So, but anyways,
and stimulants.
Yeah, and stimulants, high doses of stimulants. But anyway, so season ended there. I don't think the boys were going to the playoffs or anything anyways, but got out of there, and now I'm like starting to work. Like again, like I still have nothing lined up after this. So like, and like this is kind of like I can't, if the season ended in like May or something, I can't remember when it was, but so anyways, like I'm looking for work. I know this hockey guy. I end up training his kid grows into like taking care of like some of their kids. I was like nannying for a hot second, and then they had a demolition company, so I was just like basically like their family's go-to guy for like picking kids up from school, getting the kids yoked, and like handling their business. And it was just this kind of, and it was kind of like, honestly, it was kind of embarrassing for me because it was really far away from where I wanted to be. And but so I was doing that. And then I'd head home at like 7, eat dinner, I was taking pre at like 9:15, like head into this boxing gym in like the basement of a gym in Chicago. I was living on a mattress behind my two buddies' couch, to my ex-teammates from college couch, just like trying to get to see if football happen. So anyways, and there's plenty of stories on living behind the couch, but so eventually, I like the UFL becomes a thing, like an option for a tryout. I drive 9 hours out to Omaha, the Omaha Nighthawks, try out, get an opportunity to come into camp. So that's a week later. So I got to drive all the way back. Again, don't have a lot of money. Then a week later, I take off, go to camp, have a decent camp. And then the NFL has all their cuts. And so I get cut. So I think football's over. I'm sobbing in the car after I get cut. Like I had no idea. Like I figured everything was done. Like, but I knew I could play because I played against all these guys, and like AFL, like I was able to compete right away. UFL I was, and NFL for freaking sure. And so I was just like still some fuel in the fire. And then so finally, like my last ditch effort was because my agent said nobody in the CFL responded. So I was like, dude, give me everybody's emails, NFL, CFL, like just let me pump something out. So I pumped out like my college highlight video, my times, and like this like 2-paragraph deal, like listen, like I've gotten positive reviews everywhere I go. Like I'll show up, I'll be a dog for you. I can do like X, Y, and Z. Like I'm a leader, I'm a worker. Like it just is what it is. But like just looking for an opportunity. And I sent these out myself. And so the Saskatchewan Rough Riders are the only team that reached back out of all 32 NFL teams, and 9 CFL teams, 8 CFL teams at the time. So anyways, they bring me up for practice squad for 2 weeks before their season ends. And I sign a 2-year deal after that. And that's the kind of the start of another saga where I do those 2 weeks. They give me like $3,000 for those 2 weeks. I feel rich. And, kind of the last thing is, the last day of the season up there was my birthday. It was Halloween. So I'm like, this is just to preset the story. Like as I'm like leaving my hotel room, ready to head back to the United States, I'm like catching myself in the mirror. I'm like, was like, you can go train now. Like you got a shot. Like you got a shot again. You got a 2-year deal, making 50 grand and potentially 75 grand for 2 years. Like you can train, get an opportunity. Like I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Anyways, get home that night. One of my buddies had gotten cut from the Patriots. We go out drinking by ourselves because my buddies all had real work, and then nobody wanted to go out for my birthday because it was a Thursday. Anyways, one thing leads to another. I get jumped by 3 bouncers that night. Not uninstigated, but I definitely didn't deserve what happened. But anyway, so next morning I'm wired shut for the start of 7 weeks. Jaw broken, plate, 7 screws in the jaw, bunch of teeth uprooted, end up spending like 36 hours in the dentist chair, implants, mess. So, but I wake up the next morning in the hospital, not like saying like fuck or like where am I? It was literally like I'm not in charge. So I went down like a whole spiritual rabbit hole in that same essence, but like spent a week on the couch, like sipping Percocet out of a straw, dropped 20 pounds. And my doctor comes over. This is where me and my doctor get really seared together. Again, he's a incredible human, very, very smart, intelligent with a body diet, has engineered supplements for Beverly, Muscle Farm, all these companies, incredible mind. And he just became my mentor in this world. So he goes, like, he's Puerto Rican. He's like, get your ass off the couch, you pussy. And so I start training at his house every day.
And your mouth is, you're still wired shut at this point?
Yeah, wired shut. And I'm a shit talker too. And like, so his whole family's Puerto Ricans. And then like a lot of the people there are competitive. Cause he's got anywhere from like bodybuilders, pro athletes, like training with Beanie Wells in the basement, a bunch of savages. And then he's got a lot of people from the powerlifting world in and out. So like, it's a competitive deal. And we're just super competitive anyways, even though he's probably 45 at the time. But anyways, so, and my diet at this point is like 3 massive liter cups of blended up whatever I can get. I'm blending up steak, I'm blending up cookies, I'm blending up Chipotle. And so I'm drinking Chipotle through a straw, steak through a straw, cookies through a straw. But like, I'm training right now. I'm training like for size, I'm training for strength, I'm training time under tension, I'm training connective tissue, I'm training like isometrically where everything's firing together. Smaller muscles, glute activation, all these things that I've never done in sequence or with incredible amounts of structure that aren't confined to an hour in the weight room with a college team or a pro team and that kind of stuff. So like, and I'm just learning, like I'm just doing stuff and I'm competing and I'm going hard and that's all I got, but I'm learning. So by the time I get my wires off 7 weeks later, I get all my weight back plus like 3-4 pounds, stronger than I ever been. And then the cool thing to see all this pay off is like, it was really like 3 months after this. I always get the timeline mixed up, but I went back and did Northwestern's pro day again as a linebacker because that's what the CFL wanted me to be. And the previous year I was 215 at the pro day, ran like a high 4.6, nothing impressive jumping, but I 3-cone like a savage. And then this next time I come back, I'm like 232. I can't remember if I was 232, but I can't remember if I got drank water to get 235, but whatever. So I get there and I run faster, jump higher, agility's still there, move well. I'd been working with my high school coach on long snapping, just anything and everything to try and get an opportunity. But I already was confined to the CFL, but it was just to like stay relevant. So it just proved to me that like, even though I'm heavier, my strength trumps all this. Like my firing code trumps this stuff. Like training smarter and training harder in the right ways paid off for me. So I kept all these things. I'm a pro football player now. So like, I'm like, now I can be a pro in the weight room with my diet. And at the same time, I'm learning about proper supplementation through the doc. I got my first taste of blood work the next year, which was because it was after my first season. So like end of 2013, beginning of 2014. And that just gets the wheels turning, food allergy testings, training at his house a couple of days a week. One of my best friends, Zach Bourne, he's a captain at Ohio State coming out into the NFL at the same time, got me in to train with their NFL group at Ohio State for free, which again was massive for someone that's like balling on a budget and getting yoked on a budget. And so that kind of accelerates with that group and training with my doctor, high levels of competition, and just end up having another good season in Canada. I guess, but my first full year in Canada anyways, I got cut and put on the practice squad for a few weeks. The only reason I got activated is because some dude, like one of our linebackers, was tracking a post route and ran into the field goal that's on the goal line. Cracked his collarbone, got my opportunity, was ball, like special teams was my thing up there that got me on the team. And that kind of became my identity for the rest of my football career, where even the next year when I was starting on defense, I was like tried to be a dog and a leader on special teams as far as like effort and production. Eventually got opportunity. So after my second season up in Canada, again, I kind of negotiated my own contract. I communicated with them. So I had a couple teams call my Canadian team asking who my agent was, and they didn't know. So they called me, eventually got them in touch with my agent, got workouts for the Vikings, or sorry, that was beforehand. I got workouts with the Eagles and the Saints, and the Eagles like went pretty well, like kind of hinted I was going to be signed. But when I get back, they say, hey, there's probably a lab error with your blood work. But you'll get another blood test done, another CBC. I was like, okay, cool. End up finding out that I have like a rare blood condition that I never knew about, that like even the surgery with my jaw and some other shit never found. But I have this blood condition called idiothrombocytopenia. It's called ITP, unexplained low blood platelets. And so people are like, can you play? Like, I'm learning about like the initial scare of it was crazy for my mom and like my family, because my mom had lost her sister to cancer young, and like low blood platelets is usually a warning sign of a variant of cancer. So especially how low mine were. So anyway, so go get tested, get like spleen scans, everything done. I'm like trying to like combat this, and my doctors put me on prednisone to try and get a spike, all this stuff, but I'm all just trying to get a blood work test passed for the Eagles, and it doesn't end up happening. Like I get up to like 100 platelets, 100 platelet count, which is still like 50 low. But so anyways, like I'm trying to get the right medicine, but like the medicine that they're trying to put me on, and I'm on Canadian health insurance, which is trash, but in America is not very potent. But the medication they were trying to put me on was like 5 racks a month. And anyways, this incredible person gave me a month free and found out this works for me. But eventually got a workout with the Saints while this whole mess was going on. Go down, murder a workout with the Saints, like run a high 4.5. I'm 235 and solid now. And I kind of had to do the same thing after the CFL season, is gain weight again, do it the right way. Killed the workout, long snapped again, 2 on top of playing linebacker. And like the pro personnel guy goes, hey, we're going to sign you, done deal. But you told the doctor that you have a blood condition, like we got to get that sorted out, but you'll be good. And so that accelerates into a whole nother issue where my agent miscommunicated, like he wasn't talking to a decision maker in the Saints. So like I'm home for 2 weeks and nothing's happening with the Saints. And he's like, oh, my guy said he doesn't know. But like the way this pro personnel guy, his name's Terry Fontenot, he's the GM of the Falcons now, is incredible human. But I was like, I know this guy was like, he said he was going to sign me. He explained what was going to happen, all these things. Like somebody get him on the phone. That agent couldn't get him on the phone. Ended up switching agents at this time because CFL free agency was opening, and this other agent called me asking me what the CFL teams were offering me so he could combat it with his clients. And I told him my story, and I was like, dude, if you want a shot, you got a shot. And gave him 24 hours to get this dude on the phone. He got him on the phone. Another 24 hours. I'm down in New Orleans getting tested with their hematologist. And he got me 2 more workouts with the Vikings and I think the Chargers. So anyways, so I'm down in New Orleans again. The guys like, we're going to sign you, but you have to sign an injury waiver because of your blood, that any injury you have, if you don't heal on time, we can cut you without pay, which was trash. So
yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks. So I basically hop a flight a few days later to Minnesota. I actually do the workout super sick, but they still signed me, and I signed on dotted line. And I had a great offseason up there, incredible locker room, great coaches. I love their schemes, everything up there. They put me on practice squad. I had a couple of interceptions in the preseason, thought I had a chance, but they put me on practice squad. And then week 3 or 4, the Texans called. And so my agent's like, hey, go to the airport. And like, I went to like grab my supplements from the joint, cause you can't leave the sups behind, from the joint.
No
So
chance.
yeah. So I end up getting corralled by like my coach and the GM, and like, they're trying to tell me to stay and why I should, because I have leverage there, and they'll get me up as soon as they can. My agent's like, get the hell out of there. Go to the airport. We'll figure it out. Let me talk to them. This isn't your job. I was like, all right, cool. So I go to the airport, and I'm like I had to have a drink. I was stressing out. I was like, because the decision came down to, when a team signs you off the practice squad, you get three games guaranteed on that team, and that's it. So like, they can cut you after that, and then whatever. But like, or I could stay on the Vikings practice squad, who is now offering me full active salary to stay on the practice squad with a promise to get me up. And I had equity. I knew the scheme. I produced for him, that kind of thing. So it's basically, it was almost like $450K guaranteed, or I go take a 3-week gamble on myself. So I'm like going back and forth, talking to my parents, coaches, that kind of thing at the airport. And then finally, one of my buddies, Dan Purcell, our quarterback at Northwestern, like, our call was so damn quick. I've been talking with my brother for 20 minutes, my mom and dad for 30. And then he just goes, dude, what are you doing? He goes, you spent 3 years in 3 different leagues to play in the NFL, not practice in the NFL. I go, you're fucking right. Let's go. Hopped on the plane. My parents called me on the plane. They're like, we think you should stay. I was like, Mom, I'm on the plane. Let's ride. They came to the next game in Atlanta, and I had an incredibly productive season that year. I played 12 games active. I led the NFL in special teams tackles in 12 games. Peaked early. Continued to be a special teams guy down there. Played with some savages. Had some friends on the team before I got there. It was a really good situation. So I played there for 4 years. Ended as the special teams captain. And then my last year, I played hurt most of the year, bad ankle injury that was misdiagnosed. I really should have gone on IR. And that was that's my story for washing out, per se. But so that's the saga, if you guys want to dig into that anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, man. So you refer to your doctor. Explain a little bit more, like, what kind of doctor is he? Because it seems like this dude can do everything.
Yeah, so like, and this is always super hard to explain. You just kind of like, you don't know till you meet him. But so I actually got a podcast coming out too, and he'll probably be my first podcast, and we go through kind of his history, which is crazy. But so he came from Puerto Rico to play baseball at Kansas State. Ends up falling in love with medicine and powerlifting, drops out of baseball, goes to med school, maintains the powerlifting stuff throughout it. And so this is around the same time that like kind of supplements are starting to come to light. But he's still doing like normal gen med stuff. Like I'm going to mess up all these names. Obstetrician. Is that like, he was delivering babies for a while? I don't know. I forget the word, but anyways.
It sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Show notes. But anyway, so he's doing all this other stuff. He's doing all this other stuff, but he kind of has this passion. Like he's just like, he's like a person that's either reading a 1,000-page book on brain trauma or diet, or he's playing like Farmville on his phone. Like he's just this extreme human. And to just kind of translate that to, because that's a terrible part of the story to say that, but he ended up formulating supplements on the side because he got into powerlifting, and these powerlifters are like, he's a doctor, so he's trying to figure out the best way to do diets for guys on PEDs and things along those lines. He's around Louis Simmons as they're getting Westside Barbell rolling. He starts formulating supplements for Beverly International, like the UMP that's still popular. A couple of their other products, and then obviously, I don't know if you noticed, but Muscle Farm was originally founded out of Columbus, Ohio as well. He was one of their chief formulators for that, but like it's kind of stuff on the side, but like his like from solving problems in powerlifting and then his baseball background, he kind of just kept learning how to manipulate. This is like kind of before MAT, ART, like, so he learned that stuff really early and just started compounding like strength and conditioning and like logical isometrics and just really cool biomechanical stuff, just because he's a curious human while he's still doing general medicine. And eventually led to like his concepts led to him speaking at this conference up in Canada, where it's a bunch of strength coaches from around the country. and around the world. And like the networking at this young convention led to him getting in with like the Mariners, and then the Columbus Clippers are a Yankees organization based out of Columbus, obviously. So he started getting with them, their PTs, doctors, et cetera, and started working with their big dogs down the road. And all along the same time, he's producing some of the best supplements that are out at the time. And it just kind of whirlwind into the, like, people know him, his name's on the supplements and that kind of thing, but nobody knows what he does hands-on, like the problem solving he's doing in his basement with strength conditioning, with also very again, this is like before RPR was around, doing variants of that. And it just grew into this incredible human that like found out how to create distraction, and like my sprained ankle while strengthening the ligament. He's just an incredible human. But yeah, he's kind of like consultant now. Like he still works with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Him and their owner Con are boys. He you just never know who you're gonna see at his house. Like the Beanie Wells, I've seen a bunch of Ohio State guys there. Seen some studs from the MLB. He talks to Mo Vaughn on the regular, bestie. Like he's just this most interesting man in the world kind of guy. But I that's my best attempt at an explanation for his history and his madness.
No, that's fascinating. And that's an incredible experience, to be around somebody like that. And that kind of leads into, the next question I have for you is, during your career, whether it, was playing football or whether it was spending time in the gym, did you have a moment that shifted your paradigm in terms of what you thought strength and conditioning and performance was, and to what it is for you now, that really kind of impacted how you train now and how you recover now?
Yeah, there's a couple forks in the road. Probably the first one was my jaw. Like seeing what these workouts and this diet, even though I'm wired shut, could do, kind of opened my eyes to the power of, I guess, the training concept and the diet and everything as a whole. Like I knew it was good. I mean, they preach it in college, lifting heavy, eating right, that kind of thing. But just to start learning the muscles, learning how to train properly from like a sets and reps concept, how to incorporate the time and retention stuff. Like that was kind of like my first push into the world. And then that was like the simple supplements and the blood work eventually grew into that, where I started feeling my deficiencies, feeling better. And then I kind of found like there's kind of, I guess, through like kind of after when I was cut from the UFL, that's where I got this verbiage in my head, like chasing edges. Every time I got cut, I found more things to work on or more people to learn from. So I had really cool mentors up in the CFL. Ray Williams was a savage. He's a guy that played in the NFL for a little while, but he took me under his wing. Like we were doing his workout. He's the most yoked linebacker on the team. Doing his workouts, finding what worked for me, took my own stuff, added to his, and just became this like collaboration. And now I did that at every level. So like on top of having my doctor stuff, like now I had these savages in the CFL, like just get around great people and just talk and work hard, like good things happen. So I did the same thing in Minnesota. I'm watching the best. I'm watching like the Adrian Petersons. I'm learning from Chad Greenway. I'm watching Everson Griffin, and I'm just like, people kind of see me as like this muscle guy with like some subs in his locker. So they're asking questions. Andrew Sendejo, incredibly intelligent player, still playing, just signed with the Colts again. He's on year 11 or something crazy, but his knowledge is off the charts too. So I've just started to find these little pockets of people that were chasing edges in essence. And like some of them are pros and they have this discipline with their protocols. Other guys want the heavy weight, that kind of thing. I think I'm deviating from your question, but I guess like the next thing, because like I'm guessing you guys are trying to get to like my style now, is I was really good at going hard. I always wanted to train with the best. So I trained. Adrian Peterson happened to own a gym in Houston. I was with the Texans, so I trained with him and his group of savages for 2 off seasons, and it was incredibly hard training, incredibly competitive. Like hour and a half hard at the track in the summer in Houston. back to like an hour and a half lift with conditioning and that, like all this stuff. It was just a grind, but like that, like Adrian Peterson is the definition of work capacity. And you see where he gets it. So, and then I start asking his trainer, what's your methodology? And I learned from him. And, but eventually I found like the discipline I had and the rigid nature of my routines and my training and like my identity as this blue collar hard worker, sprint to every play, hustle guy, like that was going really hard in one direction. And I always like kind of preach like, oh, train like a pro, recover like a pro. And like, there's kind of this shift there where it's like, okay, like you're not getting back to where you were. At one point, my blood work was absolute trash. Like my test was like 211. DHEA was like an 80-year-old woman. Like it was just trash. And so I'm like, all right, you're going too hard. You're doing too much. So like I started reading books on sleep. My trainer from high school became a chiropractor while I was in college, and he opened up his own practice in Arizona, John Toma, and he's an extremist that chases like all these edges. He introduced me to this lifestyle. So he got me on red light back in right after my first season, 2015. And so like I'm doing red light, like I've done my own experiments on my blood work now, like that keeps my test up like 200 to 250 points. I follow this, like I read this book, Sleep by Nick Littlehale. So I followed his R90 program, and I just start getting some momentum to like this ability to balance out the go with the chill. And I still hadn't inserted the life yet. I still was pretty rigid with who I let into my circle and who I let distract me from this NFL kind of eggshell or whatever shell I kept myself in. But anyways, I fell in love with it and eventually found the breath work. I had the cold exposure in my back pocket because the same crazy, my doctor, so he's a chiropractor who was my trainer. Got a lot of doctors in my corner, sorry. But and so that was 2013. He had me up in Canada going up to my neck in the cold tub for 20 minutes. And I thought he had a reason behind it. It came out like, what was that, 2018, when I called him. I'm like standing with like Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese, like saying, hey, remember that 20-minute protocol? Why'd you have me do that? He goes, I saw Wim Hof and somebody do it. I figured you could do it. And I was like, I just want to make sure you could. I was like, oh shit. So I look like an asshole. But yeah. So anyways, so I had the cold in my back pocket. I didn't have the sauna stuff yet. But in Houston, the team was paying for the sensory deprivation chamber, this forced meditation tank where it's, again, float tank, salt water, you float on top of water, no sound, no light. But so in there, like I had trouble like meditating or shutting my mind off in these things. So I started holding my breath with no kind of insight into it. So I was like, and I had my watch on in there. I was like, how long can I hold my breath? A minute, whatever it is. And I get out of there and I Google, how do you hold your breath longer? And the only options on Google are free diving and Wim Hof. So I go down that rabbit hole, and it kind of became this perfect storm when I was with the Texans. That same year, we had a new strength coach who came in and did like FMS scores and NordBoard testing and all these things, and determined our team is unfit to run. So we spent like the first 3+ weeks of training camp doing glute activation, core development, pelvic floor, like mobility, all these things, like training squats and all those kind of things, right? Like all this stuff. But like, so during this time, like this is my deepest into breath work I've been, because he gave the whole State of the Union. Like, I don't care if you're JJ Watt, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, if I find out you're running outside of here, go in the GM's office and you're gone. And he's a scary human. Luke Richardson is a savage and runs the most strict, awesome NFL program I'd like been a part of, like strength coach in general. He has a really cool deal. And anyway, so nobody was really running, but I was doing this breath work and these underwater pool swims and holds and stuff along the free diving protocols. And then by the time we get to where we're going to run right before we start practices for OTAs, we have like a speed day, and like everybody's kind of just low key. The next day they try and bury us a little bit, and dude, I'm out running everybody. I have this new awareness to my breath where I can hear people breathing, and like, but my breath is super slow. So I'm just like, and then like this just kind of led into like a rabbit hole of like the book, The Oxygen Advantage. And at the same time, one of my buddies in Minnesota, who me and him co-own this company called Mindstrong, he like found it and blew it up while I was still playing. He's a stud, and we're currently got a contract with the San Francisco Giants. All this stuff is really good, but he was finding the same thing at the same time. And so we kind of just started bouncing ideas off each other, and it added to the development of our company. But like that day when like I'd been doing breathing and nobody else been doing anything normal, like I buried everybody. I was up running with like the DBs again and that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, there's something here. They're huffing and puffing. I'm standing chilling. I was like, okay, there's something here. So we went down that rabbit hole, and that's how I found the breath. Like in the breath world, you have the Laird Hamiltons, the Brian McKenzies, the Gabby Reeses, that side of it, the Patrick McCown, who wrote the book Oxygen Advantage. And then obviously now you have like the James Nestors and a lot of people in this breath world now, because people are finding out how powerful it is. And it's in ultra marathoning, like it's in almost every sport now, and a decent amount. Like so anyways, like that's kind of like the world I live in now, where like I'm gonna constantly learn, I'm gonna get certifications, I'm gonna keep pushing myself towards living like my best life with sports or without sports. I'll always be around sports, just so I'm not playing on Sundays. I mean, I'm not an athlete. Like I found powerlifting, I dabble in jujitsu, I do a little bit of everything to keep my sanity, because I know I need to compete. And that's what powerlifting suffices that kind of want and need for me too, because it's like a morning ritual of like, are you going to fail or not? Are you going to compete or not? And a lot of those like powerlifting weights are, and like, especially inside the conjugate method, are like, this is 50-50 if I get this or not. And it's just like, let's go. And like, you either start your day with a massive dub, or like you take an L and it motivates you even more. So it's like this cool little structure now outside of football that still feeds my beast.
And I definitely want to get into the Mindstrong Project stuff, because you talked about that just a little bit. But for everybody, I imagine, wondering the same thing that I'm wondering after we hear your story, you had so many opportunities to quit. Why didn't you?
It's kind of that concept. Like after that first rookie mini camp, and like they had like the Mark Barron was drafted in the first round that year, and then there's this other kid, like, really small world. This other kid I was competing with, Sean Baker. I played in high school. He beat me out for that spot there, and then I worked out for the Texans in June as a long snapper, and he was the assistant special teams coach down there. So the guy that beat me out, or I think he already had the contract or whatever. But anyways, but I knew I could play because I saw him playing in the NFL while I was doing this journey. And the same thing with these guys I played against in Chicago just for that weekend. I was like, I know I can play. And honestly, it was a fear of the real world too. Like I always knew in the back of my mind, I wanted to like have freedom. I wanted to travel. And I as organic as football was, I love the sport, and I love everything about the sport. I love the 6 months of training that is a requirement, like that. Yeah. Twist my arm. And then obviously in season training, and then the resources that potentially come with it. I kind of just wanted to taste it, and I knew I could play. So I was like, you know what, I'll keep banging on doors. But I did think it was over after the UFL being cut, because nobody responded the first time from the CFL, and just the right opportunities happened. I did keep learning. I did keep learning, adding to my training. I did the shit that I was a fucking Manny. I did a lot of shit I didn't want to do. I lived behind somebody's couch. I was training at 10 o'clock at night, going to sleep at 1 o'clock by the time sometimes I ran in the pitch dark on a soccer field. I ran, there's one time I was just I'm going to keep running. I was at Northwestern's practice field. I ran till I threw up, and I came and I had to drive 25 minutes back. I just remember all these really kind of dark times where where I'm do you even want this? And then the 1500s became 2700s one night, and it just in my mind was yeah, you want this. And I kept having to prove it to myself, because a lot of times I did want to quit, but it just it kind of was just an in the moment conversation. And then I'd already committed to my guys I was living with. I was I'm gonna ride till the wheels fall off. I'll make money, and they're giving me shit for what I was doing. And then not those friends, but other friends, time to use that Northwestern degree, Brian, that kind of shit. Omaha, there's football in Omaha, all that kind of crap. And I remember every single person I had a high school coach, not like one of the main ones, but like he told me basically to hang it up, and I still like I don't talk to him this day. Like stuff like that, just like kind of just like if you're not about it, man, get out of my way. And like the learning and all that kind of stuff, like I was still having fun, like I was still going out on the weekends and that kind of thing. But like when it came to like getting my workout and my run in was non-negotiable, like those months. And then especially like the fear of getting foot, like, so like when I broke my jaw, how my mandibles held, like initially the doctor said I couldn't play football anyways. And so I was like, well, I lost football because I'm a dumbass. And then so now like I got to do everything I can to get it back. And so that was just like another roll in the fire. And then like once I got to work out for an NFL team, I was like, it just momentum and the focus got tighter and tighter and tighter. But like, dude, after a little bit of success up in Canada, on special teams, and like I knew a couple guys on special teams in the NFL at the time, and like seeing like we're not that different, like I can do this, and seeing a guy go to the NFL one year is like 5-6 guys get out of the CFL every year. Is like I'll be one of those guys. And just I had great people around me, and I had great mentors in the CFL. Johnny Holland was my coach there for a couple years, or really like a year and a half, and he's been with the Giants. He's an incredible coach, an incredible human, huge impact on me. Taught me how to play the game right, how to be a good person while I do it. And then I had this linebacker teaching me how to be a savage in the weight room. Like I was around great people at the right times. It was a bunch of forms of self-reassurance. It was a bunch of ups and downs, but like I knew I could play, and like I wasn't going to be nice till like they legit told me I couldn't play anymore. Like honestly, like if CFL didn't work out, we might have been playing again together the next year, you know, like I would have taken a run at it, just because like I knew, like especially after the UFL being cut, like getting cut from a league you don't want to be in is just, it's humbling. And I got to go back and drive and see my buddies and like hop on the bed behind the couch again and be like, no, I'm still about it, and like let's go. And they're cool, and they couldn't have been happy for me when the CFL deal came through. They've been to NFL games with me, like, and like that kind of thing. Like those people stayed close to me. Everybody else, like they were out. So I know that's a long-winded response, but like there's no clean answer to it. Like I knew I could play. I had plenty of doubts. Like I never stuck with the motion I was in. Like if I was down, like I went and worked out. Like if I was like kind of needed self-reassurance, I got around people that would reassure me, because like I already had guys that were doing 9 to 5 that hated their lives. So like that was even more motivation to like the freedom side of me. And I was like, yeah, well, like who cares if I make $2,000 a month for 2 years if I get to do this and get a shot. So like, and I'll live behind the couch as long as you guys will have me. So like it just my logic was like basically like I can play, avoid the real world, make the dream happen, like in that order. So.
Hey, we told you it was going to be a wild one. We didn't lie to you. That awesome story of Brian Peters. Part 2 is going to make so much sense now that you understand Brian's story. We hope you enjoyed part 1. Come back next week for part 2. It's going to be even better than part 1. See you guys soon.